A November morning in Manhattan always carried its own distinct scent. The bold roast of coffee from the Starbucks on the corner, the diesel smoke from the M4 bus left behind, and the sharp bite of cold wind slipping through the cracked window on the 28th floor of the Alden on West 68th. Pale golden sunlight filtered through the white linen curtains, spilling across the walnut dining table my mother had proudly bought at ABC Carpet & Home 3 years ago. On the Sonos played Billie Holiday's Autumn in New York, soft as if the entire city were whispering that today would be a beautiful day. I, Emily Thompson, 32 years old, took a bite of my everything bagel with cream cheese and smoked salmon while flipping through the New York Times. The front page featured the latest Hudson Yards project, my father, Robert Thompson's tiny architect signature tucked in the bottom corner. Dad sat across from me in a navy shirt, worn untucked, tie still undone, scrolling emails on his iPad. Mom, Laura, in a camel cashmere sweater, was pouring him his second cup from the French press. Boston won't know what hit them, Dad said with the same confident grin I'd known since childhood. Harrington signs Empire North before Thanksgiving, baby girl. This year we're getting a really fat turkey. Mom gave a soft laugh and rested her hand on his shoulder. Just be home by Thursday. I already booked the grill for the whole family. I sipped my latte and grinned. I'm only asking for a box of Cane's donuts from Saugus, cinnamon only. That's enough for me to forgive you for missing Halloween last year. Dad winked. Already on the list. And a box of Mike's pastry for Sarah, too. She texted that she's addicted to cannoli. Sarah Jenkins, my best friend since NYU, the one I called my non-blood twin. This morning at 6:30, she'd messaged, Sarah, help your big sis move in Brooklyn. Save me with coffee, Em. I'm dying under cardboard boxes. I'd replied instantly, just pour red wine into the boxes and they'll feel lighter. I'll bring Pinot tonight, okay? Dad stood, kissed Mom on the forehead, then came around and kissed the top of my head, the familiar scent of Creed Aventus that had followed me since I was 16. Knock them dead with that Tribeca project, kid. I'm so proud of you. Mom hugged me long and hard by the elevator. Call if you need anything, and wear a coat. It's cold out there. The elevator doors closed. I caught my reflection in the polished metal walls. J. Crew sweater, mother jeans, common project sneakers, a quintessential New York girl with the dream job at an interior design studio, a perfect family, a perfect best friend. Life felt like a Hallmark holiday movie, only missing a Christmas tree and falling snow. On the one train downtown, I snapped a photo of the sunrise over the Hudson and posted it to the family group chat. Dad replied instantly with a heart sticker. Mom sent a turkey emoji. Sarah spammed hearts under the cannoli message. I had no idea that was the last time I would see Dad in his navy shirt, Mom in her camel sweater, and Sarah actually helping her sister move in Brooklyn. When the train stopped at Chambers Street, I stepped off, earbuds still playing Autumn in New York, heart light as air. The city of 10 million people was greeting a brand new day. I smiled at my reflection in the golden autumn light, completely unaware that in just a few hours, the entire world would burn to ash. Tuesday afternoon, 4:12 p.m. I was standing in the middle of the studio on the 42nd floor of 620 Avenue of the Americas, holding a laser measure between two abstract paintings for a client in Soho, when my phone in my jeans pocket vibrated nonstop. Unknown number, 212 area code, Manhattan. Hello, Emily Thompson speaking? A man's voice, low, slow, but ice cold. Sorry to disturb you. This is Sergeant Daniel Morales, NYPD Troop G, Bridgeport, Connecticut. Are you the daughter of Robert and Laura Thompson? I laughed reflexively. Yes, what's wrong? My parents are on their way to Boston. 1 second of silence. Then his voice dropped like a stone from the sky. Their vehicle was involved in a serious accident on I-95 northbound near Milford about an hour and a half ago. The car left the highway, struck an old oak tree, and caught fire. I'm very sorry. Both were pronounced dead at the scene. The world went completely silent. All I heard was the laser measure hitting the walnut floor and shattering. I don't remember how I left the office. I only remember standing on 57th Street, cold wind cutting through my thin coat, hailing a cab without being able to speak. The driver asked 3 times before I managed, "Upper West Side, as fast as you can." When I pushed open the apartment door, 2 NYPD officers were already there, hats in hand, faces rigid as the bronze statues at the 9/11 memorial. Sergeant Morales was tall, dark-skinned, eyes red. Beside him stood a young female officer, Rivera, holding a folder. "We need you to confirm a few things," Morales said. "The car was a silver gray Mercedes GLE, New York plate RTLT. That's your parents' car, correct?" I nodded, voiceless. Rivera gently helped me to the cream leather sofa, the one Mom had proudly chosen at Restoration Hardware. Morales sat opposite, voice low as if afraid of breaking the air. The vehicle was traveling at high speed, approximately 85 miles per hour. No brake marks on the roadway. The scene indicates the car veered straight off the lane, struck the tree, flipped, and burned intensely. Firefighters arrived in 6 minutes, but the fire was too strong. I heard my own voice ask, distant as someone else's, "Did my parents suffer?" Morales looked me straight in the eye. "No, Miss Thompson, they were gone instantly." My phone buzzed. Anna, my sister in San Francisco, FaceTiming. I answered. Her face was flushed, eyes swollen. "I just got the call. Oh, God." Anna broke into sobs. I could only shake my head, tears falling onto the screen. I remembered Christmas when I was 8, Mom and Dad taking Anna and me to Rockefeller Center, Dad hoisting me onto his shoulders so I could see the golden angel atop the giant tree. I remembered Sunday afternoons biking around Central Park, Mom bringing roast beef sandwiches from Gray's Papaya. All of it now reduced to ash on a Connecticut highway. Morales put a hand on my shoulder. "We'll need you to come to the Manhattan office of Chief Medical Examiner for formal identification, whenever you're ready." I stood up, legs trembling, but my voice strangely steady. "Let's go now." As I stepped into the hallway, I glanced back one last time. Mom's coffee still warm on the table, Dad's New York Times open to his project, his Burberry coat hanging neatly by the door. The scent of Creed lingered. The elevator doors closed. I looked at my reflection in the mirror-bright metal. Red eyes, messy hair. But something else had already begun to form in my gaze. Not just pain, but a growing, icy void. I had no idea that in a few more hours, that void would explode into hysterical laughter inside an NYPD interrogation room, and everything I once believed about family, love, and the American dream would burn to ash a second time in the same day. The interrogation room at One Police Plaza was so cold I could see my breath turn to white mist. 4 walls painted prison gray, metal table bolted to the floor, the stinging smell of bleach. I sat clutching a paper cup of long cold coffee, staring into nothing. The door opened. Detective Jack Riley walked in, mid-50s, rumpled gray suit, loose tie, face etched with the map of sleepless nights. He dropped a brown folder on the table and sat across from me. "Emily, I know today is the worst day of your life. I'll try to make this as quick as possible." I nodded, mute. Riley opened the folder and slid an 8x10 glossy photo toward me. "We found this on the female passenger. No purse, no ID, no phone, just this." I looked down. It was a white diamond ring with a platinum band, daisy-shaped setting, the bespoke design Dad had commissioned at Tiffany & Co. for their 25th anniversary. On the inside was the tiny engraving I knew by heart. "Robert and Laura, 9/14/1996, forever ours." That ring had gone missing last June. Mom cried for a week, convinced she'd lost it at Chelsea Market. Dad even hired a private investigator, spent nearly 20 grand. I had helped Mom turn the apartment upside down. And now it sat here, blackened with soot, covered in carbon, on the finger of a woman who burned to death beside my parents. The blood in my veins stopped moving. I heard my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. "We thought you might recognize it," Riley said gently. "Do you know this ring?" I looked up. Flashbacks hit me in perfect frames. Sarah and me at Joe's Coffee on 44th, laughing until we cried because she'd told the story of someone in front of her at Broadway wearing a huge hat. Sarah at our Thanksgiving table every year, eating 2 servings of Mom's pumpkin pie and pretending to complain she'd get fat. Sarah holding me the night my boyfriend of 27 years dumped me, whispering, "You deserve real love, Em." Sarah texting this morning, helping my sister move in Brooklyn, save me. Every moment, every hug, every "I love you" had been a lie. My father hadn't gone to Boston alone. He'd gone with the woman I called my sister. They were running away together. The ring my mother mourned for months had actually been on his mistress's finger. The pain of losing my parents that had just ripped my chest open suddenly vanished, as if someone had pulled the plug on an entire ocean of emotion. In its place came a cold, white emptiness, and from the bottom of that emptiness rose something black, sharp, and hysterically funny. I started laughing. First, just a small choke in my throat. Then it grew and grew into uncontrollable peals. I clutched my stomach, tears streaming, not from grief, but because it was so goddamn funny I couldn't breathe. Riley jerked back in his chair. "Emily, you okay?" I wiped my eyes, but the more I wiped, the louder I laughed. The sound echoed off the concrete walls like a theater. I collapsed forward onto the table, shoulders shaking, then threw myself back, throat raw but unable to stop. "This ring," I managed between gasps, voice breaking, "was supposed to be in our safe at home." Riley frowned, genuinely worried. "Do you need a doctor?" I lifted my head, eyes still wet but already dry and dead. The smile stayed on my lips, but it was no longer a smile. It was something sharper than a knife. "No," I said, eerily calm. "I'm fine, better than ever, actually." Inside my head, a voice rang clear as a bell. They died together. Good. Now it's my turn to live. I took a deep breath and looked Riley straight in the eye. I have never seen that ring in my life. My laughter still echoed in the interrogation room when the steel door slammed shut behind Riley. He'd called the 2 officers outside because he feared I was having a hysterical breakdown. They stared at me like I was a live grenade. I just found it hilarious. Hilarious enough that tears ran inward. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered like a Hitchcock film. My laughter bounced off the 4 gray walls, warped into something inhuman. I clutched my stomach, folded over the cold metal table, then flung myself back again, throat burning but unable to stop. "Emily, do you need a psychologist?" Riley asked for the 3rd time, voice now truly afraid. I wiped my face with my cashmere sleeve, inhaled long and slow, and met his eyes. The smile remained, but my eyes were dead. "No doctor," I said, hoarse but every word crystal clear. "I just woke up from the dream." He pushed the photo of the ring one last time. "You're sure you've never seen it?" I looked at the ring, at the words "Robert and Laura, forever ours," blackened by soot, then looked up and gave the sweetest smile I could muster. "Never, not once." Riley sighed, scribbled something, stood. "We'll be in touch when we have more." When he opened the door, hallway light poured in like a blade. I stood, legs strangely steady, and walked out of that room as if walking off the stage after the third act of a terrible play. In the cab home, I watched the city through the window, still bustling, pedestrians rushing, Broadway signs flashing, horns blaring. Everything still beautiful, still New York, still the American dream my father used to tell me about when I was little. My father, born on a tiny corn farm in Iowa, came to Manhattan with nothing but a scholarship and a dream. He loved to say, "Sweetheart, this is where dreams come true. Just work hard, be honest, and never give up." Honest. I laughed again, small this time, just enough for the driver to glance at me in the mirror. My father's American dream turned out to be a 30-year mortgage penthouse, a Mercedes burned to charcoal, and a mistress wearing his wife's anniversary ring. When the elevator reached the 28th floor, I looked at my reflection. Red eyes, messy hair, but the gaze had changed. No longer the Hallmark girl. I was a woman who had just been thrown out of a fake nest and decided to build a new one with her own bare hands. The apartment door opened. The smell of morning coffee lingered. Creed Aventus still haunted the air. I stood in the vast living room and looked at the family photo above the fireplace. Last Thanksgiving. Mom, Dad, Anna, me, and Sarah sitting beside Mom, wine glass in hand, radiant smile. I walked over, lifted the frame, ran my finger over Dad's face, Mom's, then stopped on Sarah. A cold current of ice flooded my chest. They died together. Good. Now I get to live. I set the photo down gently, carefully, as if placing a time bomb. Then I walked into Dad's office. Tonight was going to be long, and I was going to find every last piece of the so-called American dream they had trampled, whatever the cost. The first night without my parents, the apartment was so quiet I could hear the refrigerator clicking in the kitchen. I didn't sleep. I didn't cry anymore. I just kept on the tear-stained cashmere sweater, walked barefoot into Dad's office, overlooking the glittering East River and Brooklyn beyond. Dad's office had always been a sanctuary. Danish import walnut desk, rolled drawings in leather tubes, balsa wood building models lined up perfectly. The smell of old paper and Creed Aventus still clung to the air, as if he'd only stepped out for the newspaper. I started with the bookshelf, pulled out every Ayn Rand, Frank Lloyd Wright, Le Corbusier, shook them hard. Nothing. Then the filing cabinets, contracts, tax returns, Empire State Redevelopment drawings, the project Dad bragged about to the whole city. All pristine, perfect, too perfect. Finally, I sat in Dad's beloved Eames chair and opened the main drawer. Mont Blanc pens, Tiffany paper clips, business cards. I was about to give up when my finger caught an irregularity. The drawer bottom wasn't flush, a hair-thin seam. I took Dad's letter opener and pried. A soft click. The false bottom popped up like a music box lid. Inside was another world. A cheap black burner phone you buy with cash at Rite Aid. A steel key with no tag. And a tiny black Moleskine notebook sealed with tape. I powered the burner first. 87% battery. No contacts. Only the repeating initials MH repeated over and over, and one lone S. Messages. Only one recent thread. Yesterday, 13:07. S. On our way. Can't wait any longer. MH. Be careful. Empire North files in trunk. Erase all traces. S. Kiss kiss. 25 years and finally the day. MH. Tonight, 7 p.m. Old motel in Stamford, then Cayman. I read it 3 times. My heart no longer raced. It beat slow and heavy, like a hammer on steel. I opened the Moleskine. First page, Dad's unmistakable architectural handwriting. Empire State Redevelopment, Phase 3. MH, 4.8 M. Transfer, Grand Cayman Act 8871-441. Kickback route, Hudson Construction to Shell Panama, back to MH, 60%, RT 35%, contingency 5%. Dozens of pages of handwritten ledgers, dates, codes, amounts. 2.1 million last November, 4 million this March. Little notes. Additional for Emily and Anna College Fund. Will transfer once settled on island. Last page. Today's date circled in red ink. 11:14. Final pickup. Flight. 9:40 p.m. JFK to Grand Cayman. S plus RT. New names ready. I closed the notebook. My hands no longer shook. I felt as if I had opened a door straight to hell, and hell was named family. Dad wasn't just cheating. He was corrupt, laundering money, selling out the city through the Empire State Redevelopment project, the one the mayor cut the ribbon for while Dad stood beside him grinning on every front page. And he planned to disappear with Sarah, taking tens of millions, leaving Mom penniless and me with a story about an extended business trip. I slipped the burner, the key, and the notebook into the pocket of Dad's old hoodie, the hoodie he wore when we watched the Yankees together when I was 16. I looked out the window. Brooklyn Bridge blazed in the distance, a betrayed promise. I whispered into the dark, "You picked the wrong person to betray Dad." I turned off the office light, locked the door, and stood in the hallway of what used to be home. Now it was only a crime scene. I had lost my parents once in fire. Now I would find the truth, even if I had to burn New York down a second time. The next morning at 8:17, the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw a black Lincoln at the curb, uniformed driver waiting. Michael Harrington stepped out. Long cashmere coat, Hermes scarf, silver hair perfectly combed. He looked like he'd walked off the cover of Forbes, not like a man visiting a house that had just lost both parents. I took a deep breath, messed my hair a little more, wiped fake tears with my sleeve, and opened the door. "Emily, my poor girl." Michael opened his arms and hugged me so hard I smelled Tom Ford and money. I let him pat my back, then let him inside. "I just landed from Palm Beach when I heard. I flew straight here. My God, I still can't believe it." He placed an enormous bouquet of white lilies on the table and sat in Dad's favorite armchair. His pale blue eyes swept the living room, pausing at the slightly ajar office door. "How are you holding up? Has Anna arrived yet?" "She lands tonight from San Francisco." Michael nodded and dabbed dry eyes with a silk handkerchief. "Robert was my brother. 30 years building the firm together. Now it's just you and Anna." I sat opposite, clutching a mug of tea to hide the tremor in my hands, not from fear, but from rage. "Coffee, Uncle Michael?" "No need, sweetheart." He leaned forward, voice low. "Did the police mention any personal effects recovered from the car? For example, your father's leather briefcase?" I blinked innocently. "They said everything burned, pitch black." Michael's lips thinned. His glance flicked again toward the hallway. "Really? Because the Empire North contract originals were in that briefcase. Very important. If they're gone, $1 billion of investment could vanish. I'm just worried the police might hold them as evidence." I bowed my head, let my hair hide my face, and let out a fake sob. "I don't know anything. They only asked me to identify the bodies." Michael placed a hand on my knee, squeezed. "Listen to me. If you find that briefcase or anything related to the firm, call me immediately. I'll take care of everything. You just rest." I nodded, real tears rolling this time, for a different reason. He stood, adjusted his scarf. "My driver's downstairs. Call anytime." When the door closed, I stood behind the curtain and watched the Lincoln glide away. Then I grabbed my phone and called Olivia Chen,
Harvard Kennedy School classmate, now at the city comptroller's office. Liv, I need a favor. Harrington Architects, Empire North Project. Anything shady? 2 seconds of silence. Emily, are you sure? That project is on the FBI's radar. Rumors of money laundering through Panama shells. I looked at Dad's handwriting, MH on every major transaction. I'm sure. I hung up, opened the Moskine again, stared at the 4.8 million entry. Michael Harrington, MH. I smiled for the first time since learning my parents were dead, a smile cold and sharp as a razor. Right on time, Uncle Michael. I zipped the burner, key, and notebook into my coat pocket. Now I knew exactly what to look for next, and I knew exactly who would lead me there. Late afternoon, 3 days after the funeral, I drove Mom's old Subaru across the George Washington Bridge and took I-95 south. Newark, New Jersey, 20 minutes from Manhattan, but another planet. Abandoned steel mills, broken smokestacks, graffiti-covered bricks screaming R.I.P. and Black Lives Matter. Once the industrial capital of America, now just a graveyard of post-war dreams. The address from the burner's old messages, Secure Store Newark, Unit 218, 449 Doremus Avenue. I entered the gate code 8871#, same as the Cayman account. The rusted gate screeched open, revealing rows of burnt orange storage units with dented roofs. I parked at the end, headlights sweeping Unit 218. The steel key was ice cold in my palm. I pulled my hoodie up, put on leather gloves, and got out. Wind off the Passaic River carried the stench of oil and ash. Metal clanged somewhere in the dark. I inserted the key. The old lock clicked, and I hauled the roll-up door upward. Inside was pitch black except for slivers of streetlight. I swept my phone flashlight around. 10 by 20 feet packed with the furnishings of a life that never started. White Italian leather sofa still in plastic, walnut garment rack, cartons labeled in Sarah's handwriting, kitchen, Cayman house. In one corner, a pastel Smeg mini fridge with a photo taped to it. Dad and Sarah hugging in front of Cinderella's castle, grinning under Florida sun. The trip Dad called a solo conference in Orlando. I almost threw up. I opened the carton marked photos. Dozens of albums. Dad and Sarah in Hawaii, Napa, Paris. Trips Dad claimed were solo site visits. One photo of them kissing in front of the Eiffel Tower on September 14th this year, my parents' 27th anniversary. Then I heard it. Tires on gravel, headlights swept across the gap under the door. I killed my flashlight and crouched behind cartons labeled winter clothes, heart pounding in my throat. The neighboring unit, 219, rolled up. Heavy footsteps on concrete. A man whispering into a phone. Yeah, 218. Nobody here. Want me to break the lock? Even whispered, I knew the voice. Michael Harrington. I gripped the box cutter in my pocket. Michael rummaged in his own unit, cursing softly when he found nothing. Then the door rolled down, engine started, tires receded. I waited 5 full minutes, sweat freezing on my back, before I dared breathe. I searched faster. In the furthest corner, under a Burberry blanket, was a sealed plastic bin secured with zip ties. I cut them. Inside, wrapped in anti-shock bags, Dad's old 13-inch MacBook Pro, the one he claimed died over a year ago. I opened it. Password required. Tried 0914-1996. Parents' wedding date. Wrong. Sarah 1015. Her birthday. Wrong. Finally, Empire North 218. It unlocked. Desktop contained one folder. Exit plan. I had found the bomb both Michael Harrington and the city were willing to kill for. I clutched the laptop to my chest, lowered the door, and ran to the car. Newark night swallowed everything except my headlights cutting through river fog. On the highway, I checked the mirror. A black SUV had just turned its lights on and was following. They knew I was here. I floored it, 80, 90, 100 miles per hour. Manhattan had never felt so far away. And the hunt had reversed. I was no longer the hunter. I had become the prey. On the drive back from Newark, I didn't stop once. The black SUV stayed on my tail past the Goheltz Bridge, but I lost it by darting into an industrial side street in Elizabeth and looping back to the I-278. When I was certain I was alone, I pulled into a 24-hour Starbucks in Hoboken, took the darkest corner booth, and plugged in the old MacBook. The screen woke slowly, reluctantly. Password Empire North 218 again. Desktop, only system folders and one labeled Exit Plan. I clicked. A digital labyrinth. Dozens of Excel files, scanned PDFs, text notes. First spreadsheet, transfers_2024.xlsx. Columns neat as blueprints. Date, source, destination, amount, transaction ID. First row, 01-15-2024, Hudson Construction LLC goes to Panama Shell Corp. A to Grand Cayman account 8871-441, $2.3 million, MH approve, RT execute. I scrolled. Hundreds of rows. Total $45 million this year alone, all tied to Empire State Redevelopment. I opened documents. First PDF, fake contract for a new Midtown tower. But the lines weren't plumbing or electrical. Zoomed to 300%, I recognized the trick. As an interior designer, I knew blueprints. These lines were encoded. Copied a segment into notes, converted binary, 0101101, 010100 equals MH. Next line, Cayman Bank coordinates. Dad had hidden evidence inside architectural drawings. Each floor of the fake tower represented a shell company layer. Notes.txt. MH Mastermind 70%, RT Bagman 20%, Contingency 10%. Empire North is the key, run at 50M. Michael Harrington was the boss. Dad was just the courier, and planning to double-cross him. I opened Exit Plan. One-way tickets JFK to Grand Cayman tonight under Robert Hayes and Sarah Hayes. Scanned fake passports and a file titled Blackmail Docs. MH, if final 10M not transferred, everything goes to FBI, RT. Dad was going to run with Sarah and blackmail Michael one last time. I felt sick but no longer shocked. This was cold truth. I plugged in my USB drive, copied the entire folder, 4.7 gigabytes, 8 minutes. Then opened Terminal and securely erased the original with SRM, no trace left. I left the laptop under the booth seat like a gift for whoever found it next. Drove back through the Lincoln Tunnel. The city glittered, but now I saw the rot beneath the gloss. I had the evidence. Now to use it, and Michael Harrington would be first. 2:41 a.m. I sat at the counter of TikTok Diner on 34th and 8th, neon pink and purple washing over black coffee. No sugar, no cream. Pure New York when you need to stay sharp as a blade. Smell of slightly burnt toast, fried onions, old cigarettes soaked into my coat. Jack Riley walked in at 2:57, trench coat collar up, eyes bloodshot. He set his fedora on the counter and slid onto the stool beside me. Thompson, do you know what time it is? I got 47 minutes of sleep. I slid the black USB across the formica between our coffees. 47 minutes is enough to change your life, detective. Riley stared at the drive like it might explode. What is it? Everything on Michael Harrington's money laundering operation. $48 million through Empire State Redevelopment. My father moved the money, and he was about to disappear with his mistress and blackmail Harrington with this. Riley drank his coffee in one go. I've seen plenty of grieving people invent conspiracies. Grief does funny things, kid. I opened my laptop, plugged in the USB, showed him the spreadsheets, the coded blueprints, the blackmail file. Spoke slowly, calmly, like the Harvard thesis defense I never gave. Brake lines were cut clean, I said, showing the photo Morales had sent. Not an accident. Riley pulled out a cigarette, rolled it between his lips without lighting. Iraq 2004. I know the smell of intentional when I smell it, but I need to be sure. He dialed. Yo, Morales, resend the I-95 Milford report, brake line photos especially, now. 3 minutes later his phone buzzed. Close up, brake line sliced clean. Not torn, not worn, not burned. A perfect metal saw cut. Jesus Christ, he whispered. Murder. He looked at me. Who? Michael Harrington, I answered, voice like ice. He needed the evidence back before Dad boarded that plane. He didn't know Sarah was in the car. Riley ordered another coffee. You just handed me a nuclear bomb, Emily. Harrington owns half the judges in Manhattan. If I take this upstairs now, it gets buried. He slid the USB back. But I believe you, and I owe the dead an answer. He scribbled a private number on his card. Keep the drive, don't go home, pay cash hotel, I'll re-examine the scene. We'll make Harrington dig his own grave. He stood, tipped his hat. You're tougher than I thought, Thompson. Don't let the city swallow you. I nodded, clutching the USB like the truth itself. Saturday, 3:42 p.m., Central Park. Peak autumn, gold and crimson leaves drifting, tourists photographing the lake, kids flying kites, hot dog guy yelling. Perfect day for anything except catching a murderer. I sat on a bench near Bethesda Fountain in a camel trench coat, Burberry scarf, hair in a low ponytail. On my lap, a tote bag heavy with 2 thick hardcover copies of Atlas Shrugged, made to look like a 16-inch MacBook. Tiny earpiece. Riley's voice. Team in position. Hot dog guy is Morales. Couple taking selfies are FBI. Keep 'em talking. I called Michael from the second burner Riley gave me. He answered on the third ring. Emily? Uncle Michael. I let my voice waver. I found Dad's old laptop in the Newark unit. I saw everything. I know everything. Dead silence. Where are you? Central Park, Bethesda Fountain. Bring $2 million cash. No cops, no lawyers. Or, at 8 p.m. tonight, every file goes to the Times, FBI, CNN. Michael gave a dry laugh. Smarter than your old man. I'll be there in 30. 3:58 p.m. Michael appeared. No limo, polo shirt, jeans, Yankees cap, sunglasses, duffel bag in his left hand. He sat 1.5 meters away, scanning the park like prey. Money's here, he said, unzipped the bag to show neat bundles of hundreds. Laptop. I slid the tote toward him. First, I want the truth. Why did you cut my parents' brake line? Michael stiffened, then smiled coldly. You think I did it? I have photos of the cut line. I have the transfers. I know you hired a guy in Stamford to stage a minor crash and retrieve the laptop. You didn't know Sarah was coming along. He stared, then laughed, a dry, dead sound. Fine, yes, I only wanted Robert. Pity about the whore. He pushed the money toward me. $2 million. Disappear forever. You're more like your father than you know. Knows which side wins. I looked at the cash, then into his eyes. I'm nothing like my father. I don't sell my soul. I said louder, now! The world exploded. Hot dog guy dropped his cart and drew. The selfie couple flipped jackets. FBI in gold letters. An old lady feeding pigeons pulled a Glock. A dozen agents converged, screaming, NYPD, FBI, hands up! Michael realized, face white. He grabbed the tote, found only books, roared, lunged for my throat. I didn't flinch. I smiled, the coldest smile I'd ever worn. An NFL-sized agent tackled him into the grass. Cuffs clicked twice. Blood ran from his lip.
Riley stepped forward, reading Miranda rights amid tourists cheering and filming like it was live theater. Michael Harrington, you are under arrest for murder in the first degree, money laundering, conspiracy to defraud. Michael screamed as they stuffed him into an unmarked car. You bitch, you think you won? I own this city. I stood in the falling leaves while strangers filmed the takedown. Riley patted my shoulder. It's over. He just confessed on 12 mics. I nodded, feeling weightless for the first time in a week. Central Park was still beautiful. Leaves still fell. Children still laughed.
But today, justice had also been served in the middle of New York. 2 months later, January morning so cold my breath froze, I stood outside Manhattan Criminal Court watching Michael Harrington in an orange jumpsuit and cuffs. Hair snow white, eyes sunken. Life without parole for murder 1, money laundering, fraud. As he passed, he whispered, "You'll never have peace." I smiled gently. I already do. The Upper West Side apartment sold. Furniture auctioned for charity. Proceeds split between a Laura Thompson Architecture Scholarship and a City Corruption Victims Fund. I kept only Mom's jewelry box, Dad's 2009 World Series jacket, and 1 photo. The last Christmas photo, everyone smiling under the Rockefeller tree. I took it to the balcony, wind cutting my face. I looked at each face one last time, then tore it slowly into tiny pieces and let the wind carry them 28 stories down into the crowd below. No more anger, just cleaning house. That afternoon, Jack Riley, now Lieutenant Riley, waited at TikTok with black coffee and a thick envelope. Promotion and city reward money. You earned it. I shook my head. I didn't do it for money. He looked at me a long time. In 28 years, I've seen people break or go crazy. But you, Emily Thompson, you're the toughest American woman I've ever met. You didn't just survive. You dragged an entire criminal empire down with you. I smiled, my first real smile in months. We clanked paper cups to the sound of sizzling grills and burnt toast smell. That night, I loaded a few suitcases into an old forest green Jeep Wrangler bought with the Mercedes money. New laptop, a few books, unmarked U.S. map, and Mom's little music box playing Alicia Keys' Empire State of Mind, the last song Dad played in the car. I left Manhattan through the Lincoln Tunnel at 11 p.m. On I-80 West, I rolled the window down and let January wind slap my face. Behind me, the skyline blazed one last time. Empire, One World Trade, Chrysler, all Dad and Michael built, now past. I looked in the rearview mirror. The city shrank, then vanished into darkness. I turned the music up. In New York, concrete jungle where dreams are made of. I laughed out loud, tears streaming but no longer hurting. Now I understood. The American dream isn't in glass towers or Cayman accounts. It's the open road ahead and the woman driving alone through the night, no longer anyone's daughter, no longer anyone's victim. Just Emily Thompson, 32, absolutely free. The horizon ahead was wide open, misty in the headlights. California or anywhere, it didn't matter. What mattered was I was finally going where I wanted, not where someone else had drawn for me. I floored it. 100 mph, wind roaring through my hair. And I knew wherever I ended up, I would carry the strength New York lesson, survive, then live damn well. At last, I was going home, even if home was now just 4 wheels and a heart that no longer feared anything.